Today we're working with scatter plots and association. So a scatter plot we've talked about, that's just a type of graph that we're going to be using. So our graph that we're using, it's just a bunch of dots that look like this. They're scattered all over, and we are going to be able to, based on those information, find out different things about two different groups. So our outlier is a piece of data that is significantly less or greater than the value. So we talked about an outlier. So it's this one, or sometimes there's two outliers, but it's a piece of data that lies outside the majority of our other groupings. And then a clustering is where there's a group of them together. So we learned that there are three types of association. There's a positive association where both x and y, as x increases, so does y. Negative is as my x gets bigger, my y's are getting smaller. And then our last one is there's no association, meaning that there's no relationship between them. They're just scattered everywhere. So we're going to describe a scatter plot as linear, meaning you know what linear is. So linear means that it's a line, and nonlinear means that it is not a straight line. Sometimes they're nonlinear, sometimes there's zero correlation or zero association. Linear in general means it's either, you could draw a straight line to show the pattern. Sometimes it will be, you can still see a pattern, it's just not linear. And so we'll talk about those. So if a straight line can be drawn to follow the overall trend, so it doesn't have to follow every single dot, but if it can follow overall what it's doing, the scatter plot, then it's going to be linear. If the points of the data are close together, so if points are close together, the association is strong, meaning that there's a lot of correlation or a lot of similarities between them. If the points are widely spread, then it is weak, meaning, yeah, there's some similarities, but overall it's not real close. All right, so we're going to look at a couple of these A through D, and we're going to see which ones would fill in or would work with these descriptions. So looking at these scatter plots, A, B, C, and D, question 1 says the scatter plots that show a linear association are, so we want to know which one shows linear. So like if I were to follow A, I would start here and it kind of turns like this. So we cannot draw a straight line. I'm going to kind of show you. This would look like this. This one overall is going like this. This one, for the most part, is going like, that's supposed to be a straight line, not like keeps curving, and then this one curves like that. So looking at these are two that should be linear, would be B and C. The scatter plots then that are nonlinear, we still can see that pattern, but they're nonlinear, are A and D. The scatter plot that shows a weak association, let me get off my drawings here. So remember, weak is where we have data, we can see there's a relationship between them, but there's widely spread. So which one of these, which scatter plot shows the weakest association? And then the scatter plot that shows the strongest association. So hopefully you've answered those. And if you answered C for the weakest and A for the strongest, you are correct. C is more widely spread here, as you can tell. Even though this one is, obviously the more points, the better the association is going to be as well. So this one you can see there's a strong correlation or association because they're very close together. And you can see exactly how that pattern's going. Where these ones we can tell that it's going down, but they're more spread farther apart. All right, it says draw a line from each scatter plot to the best description of its association, and then to the variables it would most likely represent. So you notice we have 3 scatter plots, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different associations. So not all of them are going to be used. So when you look at these, I want you to take a look and see if you can put those together, and then come back and see if you got the same thing. All right, so if you did this correctly, you should have had your first one, there was no association. They're kind of just scattered everywhere. Your second one overall is linear, and it's positive. Your third one down here is linear also, but it's negative, so it's going down. So then we have 3 different scenarios, and we need to know which one has no association, means they do not have, one doesn't affect the other. The other one has a positive association, and the other one has a negative association. So as we look at this, this says the temperature outside and the total gallons of gas sold at a gas station. The next one says the number of days since watering a plant. So you've watered a plant, and then you're checking how moist the level of the soil is. So how much water is left in the soil after each day goes by. The size of a home and the cost of monthly utilities for the home. So your utilities are like your lights. Well, our utility bill includes lights, water, anything like that you're using. So any of the electricity that goes through. So ours also includes, at least in St. George, it includes your your garbage pickup as well. So as you look at these, take a minute now, match these, and then come back and see how you did. All right, these ones now, if we look, positive and linear, the size of the home, meaning, so the bigger my X values get, so the bigger my home is, the more I'm going to pay in utilities. So that's positive and linear. That's going to be a graph that's smaller house, smaller utilities, bigger house, bigger utility bill. Negative and linear. So when we first water that plant, there's going to be a bunch of water in there, or the soil is going to be really wet. But as each day goes on without being watered, it's going to dry up and become less and less wet. And then our last one, no association. Just because it's hot outside or cold outside doesn't mean that people are going to get gas or not get gas. Some people just have to get it. So that is what we're working on today, is just the different types of association.